Now let's dive deep into this big LGBTQ story for today. I'm Faywa, and let's queer up South Florida and Florida. The connection of Pope Francis, the Vatican, and queer Wilton Manors. Pope Francis is lying in state at St. Peter's in the Vatican starting today. Hotspots Happening Out has a group from the nonprofit travel club at the Vatican as we broadcast tonight. They will visit the Vatican today, but Wilton Manors and Queer News Tonight have previous connections with Pope Francis. In 2022, the travel club hosted 60 guests from Fort Lauderdale Sunshine Cathedral on a 2-week visit to Italy. The trip included me, and it was one of the most incredible trips I have ever been on. Queer News Tonight's Al Ferguson attended a special papal service in St. Peter's Square.
Well, hello everybody. I'm standing in front of St. Peter's and sitting in Vatican Square. Very excited. First time I've ever done this. All the times that I've been to the Vatican, I'm doing the Papal Mass. And we'll show you all of this on the news, and we're quite excited about it. And I'm going to show you the rest of.
Yes, what do you want to see? No.
Stay tuned.
The event was spurred by the special request of the Vatican to host the LGBTQ group from Wilton Manors. Al Ferguson had special front row seating for the Mass in the square and then into St. Peter's Cathedral for a special prayer led by Pope Francis.
Con l'aiuto della parola di Dio che abbiamo ascoltato, apriamo un passaggio attraverso la fragilità dell'età anziana, segnata in modo speciale dalle esperienze dello smarrimento e dell'avvilimento, della perdita e dell'abbandono, della disillusione e del dubbio. Naturalmente le esperienze della nostra fragilità di fronte alle situazioni drammatiche e talora tragiche della vita possono accadere in ogni tempo dell'esistenza. Tuttavia,
The Vatican hosted the travel club and Sunshine Cathedral for a special service including communion in the Vatican catacombs. The special service led by Sunshine bishops and pastors Durrel Watkins, Griffin, and Atwell and Kevin Tisdol was held deep underground in the Vatican catacombs. It was the first ever LGBTQ Eucharist ever approved by the Vatican. It was an incredibly special moment for the intersections of Pope Francis, the Vatican, and the LGBTQ plus community of South Florida. Funeral services will be Saturday starting at 4 a.m. Eastern, and then the centuries-old conclave will begin. Vatican experts predict these next days will be incredibly important to the American and the world's LGBTQ community. The Vatican Conclave will likely focus on Cardinal Luis Antonio Tagle, a Filipino cardinal who is considered a liberal candidate for the papacy. He's been dubbed the Asian Francis for his left-leaning views and is known for his social justice message, particularly his support for marginalized groups, including LGBTQ+. He would be the first pope from Asia. There are 2 Italian cardinals that are also considered moderates in contention. But disturbingly, another leading contender is Cardinal Péter Erdo of Hungary, who is a prominent and widely discussed conservative candidate for the papacy. He is very conservative on family matters, immigration, and is a close personal friend of very anti-Hungarian President Victor Orban. Hungary has just banned any public LGBTQ events in the nation and was supported by Arch-bishop Erdo. The events of 2022 for the South Florida LGBTQ+ community visit to Rome and approved by the Vatican were truly historic, and we remember the incredible legacy for the LGBTQ community from Pope Francis. You know, I was on this trip, like I mentioned, and I'm telling you, like I've been to many places, and this was one of the most incredible incredible experiences ever, you know, and I truly appreciate the Happening Out Travel Club for putting it together those years ago, right? Because I don't think I would have ever gone on my own, right? I wasn't raised Catholic. My wife is a recovering Catholic, you know, so she's super scared of those kind of things. They really trigger her, you know, and when we had this opportunity to go into the Sistine Chapel, to go into the Vatican, we had to do it because we were once in a lifetime, right? Yes. But I'm so glad we did. And the catacombs as well. The catacombs, my wife initially had said, you know, I don't want to go. I just don't, you know. And then when she saw like the magnitude and how old this was and what it really meant, she goes, okay, you know, let's go. And I'm so glad that she agreed to, because it was a wonderful experience. God, how does all this wash over you? You know, let's talk about the new candidates that are possibly going to be in this office, how we feel about that, and where we are right now when it comes to Pope.
As someone who wasn't raised Catholic as well, I'm just going to get my thoughts out the way. I have my thoughts on the Catholic faith, but I do have people who are very close to me who are still believers in the faith, so I'll be very respectful about this. With the Pope that just recently passed away, rest his soul, a lot of my queer friends were very excited for him. They were very happy that he had that position, that he was really speaking on issues that apparently had never been spoken on before. So that was really appreciated from me to him. So for Cardinal Tagle, is it? That is once again very exciting. For someone who is sort of like outside of the club, who has no desire to get in, I'm very excited that within that club that there's going to seemingly be another liberal person standing in those shoes who will continue the move forward of like equality for all, or at least respect for all. That's all I feel about
even
it.
if it's a possibility. Like,
even if it's a possibility.
You know, I mean, let's think about this. Pope Francis was the first to bless our community. He was the first to tell people who am I to judge. He was the first one to talk to transgender folks that were serving, you know. I mean, he was the first in many. You know, that in my mind, I'm afraid that the next person will go and go, we went too far to that right. Let's go back this way. You
That's
know?
what I'm afraid of. That's what I'm afraid. And I am the same like you, Bonnie. The Catholic Church has a history that we won't get into, that I'm not very happy with. But I did love Pope Francis. And I loved him because of him being so humble. You could feel his humbleness, and also the fact that he acknowledged the LGBTQ community. So as us as a community, I would love to see the Asian one, not just because of them being liberal, but it would be nice to see someone of color be Pope.
Yes, 100%.
Because I don't think that has ever happened. I could be wrong, but I don't think so.
I don't think so.
And so that would be also very monumental, I think. And this is my question. I don't know if you all heard of the movie Conclave. Yes. I haven't seen it yet, but my cousin told me it is something that's 2 hours long. I'm going to watch it. But I would like to be a fly on the wall, because I can just imagine the stuff that goes on behind the scenes. Think about it. They're all voting and one of them is going to become Pope. And the power that the Pope has in the world, because literally when you're chosen to be Pope, you go from a priest to almost something holy like Jesus, you know, godly, exactly. And so I can just imagine maybe they stay quiet about it, but I'm sure a lot of them want that position.
Oh my God, of course. And they were mentioning today how I believe, maybe Jason, you can help me with this one. I think there's like 150 popes that are going to be voting, and you've got to be under 80, and there's only a certain amount, and they're all flying in right now to make this vote happen. You know, I mean, pins and needles, Raji.
I know.
It's super interesting. So I'm a cradle Catholic, raised very Catholic, went to seminary, Catholic seminary, to become a Catholic priest. Shocker, not there. But I entered under Pope Benedict. So you want to talk about an extreme, which for me, growing up, Benedict was the Catholic church that I knew. Catholics, holy, like...
He's the one with the Prada shoes, right?
The Prada shoes,
okay.
Yes. So then comes Pope Francis, and I see myself in him. And I see that human connection. I would be very disappointed to see the church go backwards. Just as much as I'm disappointed about this country going backwards. But I would be very disappointed to see the church go backwards, because the Roman Catholic Church, as conservative as it is, recognizes us, sees us. There's a level of dignity and respect that comes with just acknowledging that's the LGBT community. And Pope Francis did that for us. And to be able to have another pope, whether it's one of the moderates or Cardinal Tagle, you know, we can't be erased from that too.
Yeah.
Yes.
You know, we're not erased in this country. They're trying to. We're not erased in this country. Let's not a major faith group follow those steps that the country's taking. Also, on a note of, you know, watching the movie Conclave.
Have you seen it?
I have seen
Okay.
it. Very good movie. Very good movie.
Is it about a pope dying?
No. It's about the conclave. It's about the election of a pope.
Oh.
So in the very beginning, a pope dies, but it's about the process of the election. So the secrets behind.
With the black smoke and the white smoke,
The
or whatever
black smoke,
it is?
white smoke, papers with the needle and everything. Yes, definitely a movie, and it is very surprising. The reason I did not complete seminary, personal story here.
'Cause you're
Ask
gay?
me later.
Well, listen, that didn't stop a lot of the other.
Listen.
True.
He just outed you on television.
Oh,
That's
please.
crazy.
Sorry, Jacob, I'm gay. Now my husband knows.
Sorry.
Now my husband knows. But it was because of the power. It's a power. I was 23 years old, and I witnessed something in the local church that I was at where a priest gave direction, and the person followed that direction, and then it ended up harming them, and they were like, well, you told me to.
Yeah.
It was at that moment that I was like, 23 years old, I am
Yeah.
not about that power right now.
Yeah.
Ask me now again, I'll do it. But it's going to be very interesting, and I hope the church doesn't go backwards.
You know, Pope Francis to me really was Jesus-like, because, you know, I'm not particularly a Christian. My mother's Christian. We went to church growing up. My father was Hindu, and we went to temple with him. So I'm very open-minded when it comes to religion. I'm more spiritual. But what struck me with Pope Francis is that, okay, when you're Christian, aren't you trying to pattern your life after the life of Christ and be more Christ-like? And he went like to the prisons. He went to the homeless people.
Yes, he did.
He stood and said, when they asked him about the LGBTQ community, who am I to judge? And so that's what we need in a pope. If, you know, especially someone that's going to have all that power.
Yep.
Yeah.
Because I think it's 1 billion people.
1.4 billion.
1.4 billion that are Catholics in the world.
Wow.
That's a lot.
No, it
yeah.
is. And we'll be staying tuned to this. We'll have a lot more with this story following up here on Queer News Tonight for sure. That is the big LGBTQ story for today. There is no other queer nonprofit media platform like this in the entire